Shame, fear and guilt still remain the single biggest obstacles preventing people who suffer from mental health problems from seeking the help they really require. And this week, as part of Ireland AM's Time to Talk mental health campaign, we're doing our bit to shed light on what needs to be done to tackle this growing issue here in Ireland.
And joining us now to discuss this is Minister for Mental Health and Older People, Jim Daly, and Paul Gilligan, CEO of St Patrick's Mental Health Services. Well, you're both very welcome. If I could start with you, Minister, it's a fairly big portfolio you have responsibility for, particularly the area of mental health. And we met a father earlier, Eddie, who lost his son to suicide in 2008. And even he admitted that things have come on a hell of a lot since then. But we still have a long way to go. So what are the main things that you hope to tackle as Minister in this area?
Yeah, I think it is a huge portfolio, and just to reiterate, you are right, we have come an awful long way, but we have a long way to go. And interesting, just talk about stigma in general. I was talking with some young people down in Galway recently in a youth club, and I was surprised and taken aback by how they were telling me that it's still very difficult to get people to talk, and you know that there is still a kind of a stigma attached. And these were 15 and 16-year-olds talking about the stigma. I was more hopeful that the younger generation, while they have come on a long way from our days of talk where we didn't talk about mental health and it was moved away and put behind a big red brick wall, we have come on a huge amount, but there is a stigma attached. So I think one of the challenges I want to take on head on as a minister is when I go around the country and visit, I've launched a number of Connecting for Life strategies which are to tackle suicide and to deal with mental health at a local level, county by county. I'm always blown away by the huge range of services that are there and all the different groups that are doing wonderful work. But the issue that I'm always kind of perplexed by, and I'm coming away scratching my head, is if I had a mental health issue in the morning, who would I call? What's the one number I should call? Would I ring Aware, or would I ring Alone, or would I ring Peter House, or would I ring Jigsaw, or would I ring, the Samaritans, my GP, the emergency department? So I think there is a lot of work to be done in managing what we do and streamlining it. And something I would like to see come about over my time as Minister is to try and spearhead is an initiative which I call the Front Door, which would be a number, one national number, one single number that anybody would call. So if you're living in the Midlands, if you live in the South, if you live in the North, you dial this one number, a bit like our 999 number. It's a number that everybody immediately recognises and associates, and you would be appropriately referred. Because at the moment, there is the problem where I think when people go maybe to their GP with a little bit of anxiety, and they could be sent straight to CAMHS. And they could be feeling suicidal, and they're sent straight to CAMHS. And there are lower levels of mental health that we can deal with, and lower levels of interventions, and Paul will be far more expert than I am in dealing with it. But, I think it's appropriate referral is the challenge.
Paul, one of the problems that we are hearing about in accessing mental health services is the inability to do so, essentially, that, if you present with a particular mental health service, by the time you're seen by somebody appropriately qualified, it could be anything from months to years to do so. So what would you be hoping that the Minister and his colleagues will be offering in terms of mental health services in the budget today?
Yeah, I mean, it's very heartening to hear what the Minister's saying this morning, I have to be honest. I mean, stigma is deeply ingrained, and the three ways we can deal with that is, one, change attitudes and beliefs, but two, look at our reactions to people when they have a mental health issue, and then three, obviously have the availability of rights-based, high-quality services. But I think the first part of that is to make sure that people can access the right service. And I think if you had a one way in to talking to people about difficulties, concerns, worries, and triage and be able to provide people with the support to know what's the next step. Many people won't need a next step. The Minister's quite right. They will need support locally, they will need to talk to friends, whatever. But there is a need for a lot of people to access specialist services, and they aren't there. Now, we really do need to tackle that. And I know the Minister has some very interesting ideas around that, but we really do need to tackle it, because it's not just that people go untreated, it's that it adds to the stigma. Because we all know that if somebody has a mental health issue and they're not being treated, they will remain ill, and their family will remain concerned, worried, fearful, feeling shame. They will indeed feel the same, and that will add to the stigma. So we really do need to tackle this.
Minister, one thing that always strikes me about the mental health issues is the number of working days that are lost to people, either being, undiagnosed, not able to access services, whatever it may be. And isn't it kind of a contradiction in terms, as the economy heads towards full employment, and we need these people in there, that the resources aren't being put in place to address what Paul is discussing, what I was suggesting, which is the ability to access these mental health services when you need to access them? Yeah,
it is. The challenge is twofold. I mean, if it was about money, that would be the easiest part of the equation for me. If it was just to throw more millions into the health system under mental health ticked box, great minister job done. But there are numerous challenges. One I identified about appropriateness of referrals and people ending up going the wrong way and being sent the wrong. So it's about signposting people the right way. But also we have an issue with recruitment. There's a difficulty getting the specialist people that we need in the right areas.
This was not being paid enough, though.
That is a part of the problem. There is a European-wide issue with consultant psychiatrists, for example. They just seem to be across Europe. There seems to be a shortage in general of them, and they're very difficult because we have set up our CAMS teams, with the child and adolescent mental health services, which are headed up by consultant psychiatrists at each and every level. But this year we are recruiting 114 new assistant psychologists, which will make good progress. I think the initiative that was brought in primary care, which is counselling anybody with a medical card, and a lot of people don't know this, that anybody who has a medical card is entitled to up to, I think, 14 sessions of counselling in primary care. That's a very, very powerful tool to do. It's that lower level intervention stuff. We also have the acute, more senior, high level intervention, but you have the lower level, basic level that can, I suppose, equip people and deal with an awful lot of issues that arise.
The wait times need to be cut, though. I mean, people shouldn't be waiting to be seen for up to 6 months when they're, in a state of depression, of suicidal thoughts. There shouldn't be a wait time. This should be an emergency.
Yeah, it's all kind of tied up, the whole wait time. For example, again, the CAMS waiting list, which there's a lot of media attention around it. This is young people waiting to access services within CAMS. But one of the issues I discovered there, when I found a young person waiting 16 months for that, I went and looked at what is the story here. The issue is actually the appropriateness of the referral. That child, that young person, had very, very minor needs, and CAMS is very specialist. But unfortunately, our tendency is to refer them up to the...
Are you saying that people who have aggressive mental health needs, should we describe it that way, are able to access these CAM services as soon as they need them?
They are indeed, and I'm very assured of that from going around the country, meeting the CAMS teams, the length and breadth of the country. They are prioritising on a daily basis who needs to be seen and jumping people up the queue by clinical need. But there are people dealing with very, very, very minor needs that are left languishing on that list who should never be on that list. They should be referred back down, but we don't have that facility in place at the moment. They should be referred to more appropriate lower level intervention, and that's what I'm hoping by achieving with the front door. So that's part of the problem. That's not an excuse or a defence.
What have you asked your Minister for, Minister Paschal Donoghue, today? I know you're not going to tell me what he's going to give you, but what did you go in there looking for? What were your priorities and how much? I know you said it's not about throwing money at a problem, but money is needed. Yeah,
money is needed, but I mean, look, the overall budget for mental health will have increased by 25% since 2012, and it's growing every year, and that's very significant. I don't know of any other budget that's increasing by 25% in these times.
And what would be related to the 2008 figure?
How would that figure relate to the 2008 figure?
I
mean, it's very significantly increased. I mean, it's increasing year on year. If you were to go back to 2008, I mean, in 2012 it was 711 million. 2008, I don't have off the top of my head, but I mean, it has gradually increased all the time. But I'm really, really conscious that it's not defensively. It's really, the money can be a very narrow focus, and we can tie ourselves up in knots about how much money we're spending.
It's how it's being spent.
We're spending 850 million euro, and it's how we spend that and the efficiencies we can create within that, and the access and the pathways and the knowledge we can give the service users.
Can I bring you back in, Paul? I mean, what's your reaction to the things the Minister is saying, and particularly about wait times?
Yeah, I mean, the Minister has inherited a massive problem. There is major vacancies. It isn't just about money. We need a comprehensive recruitment campaign. We need to pull back the nurses from Australia, New Zealand, which is where they're going. We need to get in the consultant psychiatrists and all of the allied health professionals. And there are many people who are slipping through, who aren't getting the service they require. That's the reality. But I think it's going to take time. Money is part of that. I mean, our budget at the moment is still below what Vision for Change recommends. It's also a smaller percentage of the overall health budget than it should be if you compare us to other countries. So there is a huge job to be done. I'm very heartened to hear what the Minister's talking about in terms of triaging, making sure people get the right services. But we do need a comprehensive investment. There's no doubt about that. And we do need to encourage people to work in this area. You know, stigma extends to that as well. So many people worry about working in the area of mental health in Ireland because they feel they're going to be left alone, that they're not going to be able to cope, there's no out-of-hours services. We need to reassure them. We need to really comprehensively deal with this stigma issue at all levels.
Paul, just one final thing. Walk in My Shoes is the radio station that you have running as part of the Mental Health Week. Available to be heard in Dublin, Galway, Limerick and Cork, if I'm mistaken. Is that
That's right, yeah. And we have many presenters from all the media across Ireland, and indeed many of your own colleagues in TV3 are supporting us, so we're delighted about that. So people should tune in.
Thank you very much. Until yourself,
Minister and Paul, thank you very much indeed. More still to come after the break. Do stay with us for that.